everyone. You are listening to ZEN The Podcast with me, Sirg.
And me, Zenobia.
So, I hope you guys are having a wonderful, wonderful day.
Hope everyone's staying on top of their grind, getting that work done, deadlines met.
Yes. So, Zen, how was your day today?
My day was actually good.
Okay.
Because, I have my class that I love, film class.
Oh, yeah, I wish I had that class. I kind of do. That class seemed cool. So.
I was going to say it's never too late, but it may actually be too late.
It actually is too late. I might take a next semester. But, yeah, my day. I only have French class. No, not French class. I had an English class. I have class later today also, but English class, it was a moment where I wanted to read a poem that I wrote, but I wasn't able to. I was kind of cut off, but we're not gonna get into that. But yeah,
College.
It happened. College, right? So our show, in our show, we have a certain setup.
Layout, yeah.
Certain layout that we go through in every episode.
Okay, so we have a theme, which is the overall, what is this encompassing here? Then we go into two things. So we go into like a sort of mini topic where we talk about something that's related. Then later we get into the main topic where we talk about the more important, or not necessarily important, but,
It's like a deep conversation.
Yeah, the deeper conversation. Thank you.
Yes, so our theme for today is masculinity and femininity. Femininity, that's how you say it?
Yes.
I always get that word mixed me up all the time. Femininity, right? Femininity.
I believe so. I can definitely double check that,
you
but
can search that for real quick. Our theme.
Yes, femininity.
Femininity. That's how you say it. Okay. So yeah, that's our overall theme for today: masculinity and femininity.
Okay, and then later on we're gonna be talking about, is standing out a bad thing, and gender roles.
Gender roles. So stay tuned for more after this. And we are back. You're listening to ZEN The Podcast, and the theme for today is masculinity and femininity. You got it? Femininity.
So we're going to get into our first topic, which, as I stated earlier, is standing out a bad thing.
So is standing out a bad thing, Zenobia?
Well, my initial response is to say no, of course not, because where there's diversity, there's sort of beauty in the sense that the more things start to look the same, the less attractive they seem to you. So for me, standing out is not necessarily a bad thing. But then you have to think about, well, what is this person doing to stand out?
Yeah, are you getting attention
from
this?
So that's how I feel about that. For me, it's all like situational or contextual, like what is going on,
and like what's your reason behind what is your reason for standing out? Like for me personally, in high school, I in 10th grade, or I think it was 11th grade, I decided to dye my hair red. And I do not regret it to this day. First of all, I dyed my hair red because one day I was in the auditorium. This is high school. I was in the auditorium, and I looked at everyone's hair. I looked over at everyone's hair as everyone was sitting down together. Everyone's hair was black and brown and just basic.
Oh my! Wow.
That's all that was going through my head. Basic. I don't want to have brown, black hair. I don't want to be like everyone else. I want to be different. I want to stand out. And not to stand out to get attention, but to stand out to be my own person, to be different. and show my personality. So the next year I decided to dye my hair red. The night before I dyed my hair red, and it wasn't even the red I kind of wanted. It was like a bright orangish color, and I was like, Mom, I don't know what's going on. Do I have to dye my hair black again? Like, I don't know what to do. I was gonna cry. I was so. And then the next night, she was like, "You're gonna have to wear that one day, and then if we might have to buy black dye the day after." I was like, "Shoot, I gotta go my first day in high school in 11th grade with red hair. Here we go." First day was pretty cool. It was like people stared at me like, "What is going on?" Sergio had red hair. Like, what? He used to be. I used to be like the quiet kid in high school.
Oh, wow.
Like, I stayed to myself. I was in 9th grade was the worst because I would go to lunch and just sit by myself and like eat. But I didn't even have food. I would just look down the whole time. I actually had food, but I was too afraid to eat the food because I was like, and we'll get into that in the future. Like, I have history with bullying and people judging me. So in lunch, I would just sit down with my head down and not like try not to get attention. But 11th grade, I come out with red hair. I'm like a whole new person, and again, I don't regret it. And the reason behind that was to show who I am and be different than the whole crowd, you know. So yeah, I don't think standing out is a bad thing as long as you're not doing it for attention or you shouldn't. That shouldn't be a reason why you want to stand out. It should be to show who you are as a person.
I had a similar experience to what you described. Like, in high school, what's funny, even in middle school, I was considered a teacher's pet.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, but I didn't fit the traditional teacher's pet stereotype because I did have friends, you know.
Oh, the stereotype would be like you don't have friends, you're just there to do work.
Right, and you're close to the teacher and you're quiet. I wasn't quiet. I like to talk. And, you know, teachers for the most part appreciated that. But I was bullied by these girls. And, you know, I stood out on accident. My mom, it was very strict. We did not shop at, you know, the high-end Coach, Nordstrom, all of that. So my clothes were not like the other girls. I didn't dress like, you know, a rich preppy kid. I dressed in some high waters, some durable platform shoes with a hoodie. And that's how I dressed, you know. And I was bullied for my appearance. I was bullied because I was smart. I was bullied for a whole bunch of stuff. And people thought I was standing out. And I wasn't. And it actually wasn't until I got into high school where I actually made the effort to stand out. No, I'm not sitting with the popular kids. And no, I'm not going to, you know, be quiet or be too obnoxious and loud. You know, people started appreciating my uniqueness when I actually did make the attempt to stand out. They're like, wow, you're actually pretty cool, blah, 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 you know.
Exactly. Like, people tend to judge book by its cover. They'll see you like, oh, what's going on with him? But when they get to know you, you're really cool.
And I stood out because I wanted to show that not everybody fits in a stereotype. You know, just because I stay on my grind with my work doesn't mean I have to be like, you know, super quiet and shy and all that. No, I talk to everybody, and I, you know.
You grew up in schools where you get to wear whatever you want. I was in a uniform. I was in a uniform school.
I actually wish I was in a uniform school because then people wouldn't be able to say, oh, look at what she's wearing. Because I'd be like, we're wearing the same thing.
Like with me, even standing out, going back to standing out, with me being in a uniform, I would like wear a jacket. Like, we'll wear a jacket, or the only way you can stand out really is things you put on top of the uniform without really, you know, it comes down to shoes, a jacket, a hat. My school you can't wear a hat.
Yeah, same here.
But it's like, you know, and that's another way I stand out is the things I put on top of the uniform. And we will be back after this break.
Okay, and we are back. You are listening to ZEN The Podcast, and each show we like to do something called What Did You Find? Where you look on the internet, it can be like social media, it can be Wikipedia, whatever you want to do, and you try to find something that ties in with the theme or the topics that we're discussing. So, Sergio, what did you find?
Okay, let me show you what I found. And the things that we find, we're going to post it on our Instagram, and in the future we'll be on Twitter and other social media outlets. We're going to post those things so you guys can see what we found as well. So I found, let it load real quick.
Oh, it's this?
It's a picture.
It's a picture.
Yeah, so this is, I don't know, it looks like the timeline is about 20s or like 1800s, whatever, I don't know.
This looks like it's probably like the 50s.
50s?
Yep.
I'm so off. But
let me zoom in so I can read what it says exactly.
It's like two pictures together. One side of the picture is a husband look like he's about to spank his wife, and the other side is a wife about to spank her husband. On the side where the husband is spanking his wife, it says, "If your husband ever finds out you're not
store testing for fresher coffee."
Yeah, store testing for fresher coffee. I don't know what that means, but yeah. And then the other side where the wife is spanking the husband, it says, "If your wife ever finds out you're not store testing for fresher coffee." It definitely shows the gender roles and back in that time where if the wife do wrong, the men at that time then the men had the right to discipline their wife. And I think that was very interesting. And then the next picture is like during this time where if you hit your wife, you're going to jail. No, you can't do that. And so what do you think about the picture?
I think that the picture, oh my goodness, it reminds me of, I have a whole collection of old commercials. And it reminds me of those commercials where the woman would be preparing dinner or a salad, and she didn't know that oil and water don't mix, and the husband and the men that she's serving the food to sort of look at her and are like, "You're a woman. How do you not know? You should know these things. You know, you're supposed to cook. You're supposed to be domesticated. You're supposed to be the caregiver."
Wow.
So this is like, this image that you found really reminds me of like the values that not necessarily we don't have today, but because there are some people who still believe that the wife is supposed to be the homemaker, and you know, the cook,
the mother,
the cleaner, the maid, all of that. But it just reflects what I think a lot of people believe about women and what their role is in society and life and all of that.
Yeah, I definitely, and I just searched up gender roles on Google, and I found this picture, and it was really interesting to me. And again, we'll show it on we'll post it on Instagram so you guys can see. But it's really interesting to see how times changed over the years, and how women are how women are portrayed in today's society. They're more respected, and I commend that. I really like that now compared to back in the day where women were like objects.
Absolutely.
So, Zenobia, what did you find?
So, I found this quote from this website called tolerance.org, and the article was titled Teaching Tolerance. And it's about toxic masculinity.
Okay.
Which is a word that I think at first people want to run away from or shy away from or say that it doesn't exist. So I'm just going to read part of a paragraph.
Okay.
So they're talking about toxic masculinity. Okay, so they say, toxic masculinity is a narrow and repressive description of manhood, designating manhood as defined by violence, sex, status, and aggression. It's the cultural ideal of manliness where strength is everything while emotions are weakness, where sex and brutality are yardsticks by which men are measured, while supposedly feminine traits, which can range from emotional vulnerability to simply not being hypersexual, are the means by which your status as man can be taken away.
Wow. then this article, are they saying that this is wrong, or are they saying it's right?
They're saying that this is wrong.
Okay, good.
Essentially, masculinity should not be measured by, your aggression. We tend to tell men that they cannot show emotion, they cannot cry, they cannot feel, they have to be the man, they have to be, uber aggressive, uber dominant, and so on and so forth. So this article is basically saying that, we don't believe that. We think that men should be entitled to show feelings and to cry and to be emotional and to not traditionally act the way that people believe men should act.
And I think that's true as well. If you're a man, don't be afraid to cry. Don't be afraid to show your emotions because of your pride, or you think a man shouldn't show his emotions. Like, I don't like that. Things like that. I just roll my eyes for people who think, "Oh man, so I shouldn't cry," or
especially in the Black community, because
definitely
we have this sense of hyper hetero masculine, like, I'm the man. I can't let anybody see that I'm feeling weak. I can't hug because that's gay. I can't do that because I'm showing my emotions or affection. Like, I see this all the time, even in my own family, where, we have men who think that it's, wrong or weird to hug their sons or to show emotion.
Yeah, it's definitely, especially in the Black community. I don't understand where it came from, for like why there's such a image a Black man is supposed to have, and they have to be strong. They have to be they can't show emotions. They can't express their emotions. They have to keep it all to themselves and be strong. And
it comes from slavery.
Slavery
educate and me. White supremacy.
Oh yeah, educate me, please.
But we can get into that on a different episode, because once I start,
But yeah, that's why I don't care about what society thinks I should act. I'm gonna act the way I want to act, and if you don't like it, shut the door right there. Skirt out the door. But yeah, men who don't really show emotion, and it's interesting to see the difference. And for example, in Moonlight, you haven't seen it. You didn't see it yet.
Yeah, I'm late, y'all. I'm so sorry.
I'm late too. I'm just now. I watched it the other night, and the movie came out, I think, 2016 or 17.
Yeah.
But in the movie, and without spoiling it, the two main characters, the guys, they were sitting on the beach, and they was talking about, have you cried? Have you ever cried? And I'm like, do men not cry? Are they not supposed to cry? And I had a joke. It was like that one gangster tear that men have,
right?
That men don't. If men cry, it has to be that gangster tear, that one tear that comes down. You're like, wipe it off. Gotta be strong enough, yeah. But that's what that reminds me of.
We as a society need to encourage Black men,
yes,
to be emotional, because when you say that you cannot act like a sissy, or you can't act like, quote unquote, these females, you're saying that weakness is the equal of femininity, which to me is disrespecting your mama,
right?
Disrespecting your sister, your auntie, Sister Angela, Sister Maya Angelou. Like, you're disrespecting the women, especially the Black women who have paved the way for us by saying that they were weak. I can't be like them. And there were some strong sisters, okay? So that's how I feel. Like, we need to teach our Black men to be emotional and to embrace that side of themselves that society and white supremacy has told them makes them weak or inferior.
Me personally, I don't understand why men can't have a personality. Me personally, I like to stand out. I like to have personality, show who you are. Like, it's not a bad thing, And yeah, so we'll be back after this break. We are back. You're listening to ZEN The Podcast with me, Sirg.
And me, Zenobia. So for just a quick announcement, for more coverage and to get notified when our next episode will air, make sure to follow us on Instagram at ZEN The Podcast. And in the future, we're going to expand our social media presence. So we'll probably get a Twitter, Facebook, all of that. And thank you guys for the support. It means a lot to us.
Yes. So now we have our topic of the day, which is gender roles.
Whew.
Gender roles. So first thing, when you first think of gender roles, what do you think of?
Oh my goodness. When I think of gender roles, I think about my job.
Oh goodness.
I think about those old commercials that I used to watch and the old cartoons that I watch and what people in my family have said to me.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, relatable.
That's what I think about when I hear gender roles.
Yes, so when I think about gender roles, this is exactly the same that Zenobia said. Also in commercials, like you said, commercials and social media and TV and movies, it was like the man is supposed to do this and the woman is supposed to do this. Like I have a family member, I'm not gonna be specific who they are, but they're like the woman is supposed to do this and the man needs to do this and shouldn't do this. And I'm like, why does it have to be a separate thing? Why can't women do things that society would think a man should do? Or why shouldn't a man do what society think a woman should do? But let me read the Google definition of gender role. Gender role. The role or behavior learned by a person as appropriate to their gender, determined by the prevailing cultural norms. So when you first hear that, what do you think?
So I literally had to write this down because there were two things that stood out to me. So, learn by a person. Like I said, most of these things that we do, it's a learned behavior. You know, you may learn to act a certain way from your parents. You may learn to say certain things because of what you hear at school. Just as we are taught how we are supposed to act based on our gender or sex.
Yeah, I learned that in sociology where all actions are learnt actions. You know, we're not born racist. We're not born homophobic. We are learnt with a we're learnt with a T. We're learnt these things. So yeah. And what else?
The cultural norms. So that part really hits home for me because our society perpetuates what it is to be a man, what it is to be a woman. I mean, you see it in advertisements, you see it in TV shows, you see it on the news. It really, that definition is so accurate. And what's funny is I didn't think the dictionary's definition would be so close to my personal definition because I'm like, you gotta think about the time that this concept was even invented.
Things that are associated with gender roles, I would think of age. You know, when you're a kid,
right?
A boy should
play with the trucks and wear blue and all of that.
And then girls
wear pink, wear dresses, play with Barbie and all that. I'm not even going to sit here and act like I didn't play with Bratz. Not Barbie, Bratz. Monster High. I definitely wasn't.
My sister loved Monster High. Oh my gosh. But when I was younger, I gravitated towards wrestlers. I'm a huge fan of WWE.
He is.
Don't come for me, okay? Wrestling may be fake, but it's entertaining. That's the whole point about it. And I used to play with wrestlers, and I had men wrestlers, men action figures, I guess you could say. And I had the women action figures as well, and I gravitated more with the women action figures. And one Christmas, I believe, my mom bought me a female action figure, and I was like, you know me so well.
I have a quick question for you. Do you think there's a reason why I've noticed a lot of guys will call what I consider dolls action figures?
Oh, like what? Like
to me, a doll is any toy that's a replica of like a human or an animal. Like, you know,
it's just the way I grew up. Like,
because I noticed that when you ask a guy, like, so what did you play with? And he'll say, like, oh, action figures. And in my mind, I'll be like, okay, so dolls. And he'll be like, no, action figures.
Yeah, I never grew up. I didn't know, like, dolls meant the same thing. I always thought dolls mean dolls, like Barbie dolls and Bratz.
But, I mean, it depends on, like, certain people. Because I know some people really do genuinely believe that there's a difference between dolls and action figures. And, you know, I can see it. It's just for me that was, you know, I just want to ask that. I didn't know if it was like something that came out of like gender roles and
yeah. I didn't know the difference. I didn't know there was I didn't know it meant the same. But yeah, action figures or dolls. Yeah, I played with all of them. I actually never really played with dolls. My sister had dolls, and when sometimes I'll grab her dolls and have them wrestle each other. I'm such a boy, right? I'll have the dolls wrestle each other. And I used to also play with superhero toys. And I'm a story writer. I love writing stories. So I like to play with them in a story setting and like make a story out of it. Yeah, that's what I also like doing. So also gender roles, we think about jobs.
Oh my goodness.
You got this one, sis. Sis.
So in my job, I work in a fast food joint, Taco Bell. My job, we have some tasks that are normally dedicated to men. For example, taking out the trash.
Now, do they tell you that only men are supposed to do it?
Yeah.
Oh, they tell you?
I've been met with that. I am taller than most of my coworkers.
Really?
And my coworkers, they're Latina, so in their minds, they're like, you know, and they told me, they're like, Zenobia, it's a man's job to take out the trash. You shouldn't have to take out the trash. And I was like, I'm strong, I'm quick.
Why can't I
just take out the trash? And you know, I take out sometimes we have like this big pot of grease that has to be lifted. It's heavy, but I'll take it out and I'll dump it, you know, and I don't need 2 people to help me lift it out. I'll do it by my damn self.
Yes, independent woman.
So, you know, they'll tell me, Zenobia, you can't take that out. You're a girl. You have to let a guy do that. And you know, I try to brush it off because a lot of it is cultural norms. And that, in like Latino culture, the man is responsible for doing like heavy lifting and construction and this, that, and the third. And the woman is responsible for, you know, going home, cooking the dinner, taking care of the kids, all of that. And, you know, in that culture, that's fine. But the way I was raised in my house, I come from a single parent household. My mom took care of me.
Same.
And so I was taught, if the trash is full, you got to take the trash out. Doesn't matter if you're a girl or not. You know, we're 2 women, you know, living in a house. There's no man here. Someone has to take the trash out. You got to do it. You know, if something's a mess, you got to clean it. I learned to lift heavy things when I was younger because I was responsible for taking in the groceries.
You said you grew up in a single mother household. I did too. However, I had a little sister with me. And this is where gender roles come in. My mom, I love her to death. Like if she was gone, I would I can't live with myself.
I wouldn't even know what to do with my
I wouldn't know what to do. But she would tell me, Sergio, take out the trash, because that's what a man do. I'm like, my sister's right there. Why can't she do it? But I love her. I understand. But there's certain situations where they'll be like, well, she'll tell my sister, you should do this because, you know, females, you know, I don't want to throw her under the bus. But there were situations like that, and I would confront her because me and my mom had that relationship where we can like talk to each other in a respectable but a understanding way. Like I can tell her why should my sister do that because she's a female? Like why can't a man do it, or why does it have to be a gender thing? And she would like snap at me like, boy please let me do me, let me be her parent. I'm like, oh, fine, whatever. You only live with your mom.
Yes.
It wasn't, you didn't have no siblings.
Nope. Daily duties in my house, once again, there's only 2 women here, and I, as the child, was responsible for getting things done. I really just follow what my mom told me, and I didn't even think about gender till I started getting older, and that's when people were telling me, like, why are you doing men's work?
Right.
You know?
You're like, men's work? I've been doing this
exactly. I've been doing this my life. I've been lifting heavy things, taking out the trash, cleaning toilets, fixing plumbing, doing construction and stuff. And
at the end of the day, it's just work. We're doing the same thing. Despite gender, we're doing the same thing. So why does it have to be a difference? Like when you talk to a man, ever been in a situation where you be like, oh, I'm about to do this, and then the man is like, no, let me do it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
Like,
I was raised to hold the door.
Oh,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're a man.
Really?
It doesn't matter if you're a woman. And I open the door. So I remember when my father started living with us and we would go somewhere together, he would want to open the door for me, and I tell him, no, I can open my own door.
Independent.
Like, he would be like, well, I'm a man. I'm supposed to open the door. And I was like, no, you don't have to open the door for me. I just told you I can open my own door. Thank you.
See, I think that's politeness anyway, to hold a door for someone. But yeah, it was interesting that your mom teach you that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, subconsciously, that's what I usually do because I was taught that at a really young age to open doors for women and for anyone, really. It's just a politeness thing.
And that's the thing. I don't think opening a door has to mean that I'm being a man. I'm performing a general service. Like, here you go. I'm holding the door open for myself and also you.
Yeah, it's right
out of politeness.
Yeah, it's right next to please and thank you.
Exactly. Basically. Manners. Yeah. Just basic human decency.
We see on social media, on TV shows, and on movies, the man is always the working one, and the woman is in the kitchen cooking.
But now, what's interesting, because I think a lot of marketing people and a lot of industries and businesses, they aren't slow. They have to be fast paced. So now they're keeping an eye on what we approve of and the things we like. So we like to see women working and taking the initiative just like men. We want equal work, equal pay. You know, we like seeing women in a position of authority. So now a lot of companies have picked up on this and they're like, well, let's capitalize off of this. Let's make money off of people wanting, to get rid of gender roles and to uplift women and stuff like that. So it's sort of bittersweet because the only way that the top 1% and people who have a bunch of money will care is when they can make money off of something.
But also, like in movies, you see women power, girl power, a lot now. And like, you seen this, how do you feel about that?
Well, I was just about to ask you a question that ties into that. So let me answer your question first. So I like that.
Okay.
At the same time, this is something that had come up onto my YouTube feed, and 2 of my favorite YouTubers had talked about it. There was one, John Solo, and he does like analysis and breakdowns of Disney movies based on the book. And then my other one was Matt Pat, and he does like the film theory, game theory. And they had brought up a very valid point that me as a feminist, I had to step back and look at what they were talking about through, I don't want to say the male gaze, but I had to put myself in their position. So, as you know, the movie Wreck-It Ralph 2, Ralph Breaks the Internet or whatever. That movie came out and they had a trailer where all the princesses are in a room. Trailer. And they sort of start cynically breaking down like the stereotype of all the princes.
Oh yeah.
And you know what I'm talking about. And they'll be like, oh, were you saved by a man? Or were you quiet? Did you not have a voice? Do you have talking animal friends? Or you know?
Yeah.
And those two YouTubers that I mentioned before, they were like, well, you know, they want to sort of diss men or say that men save them. But at the same time, is that not what happened? Yeah. Like, think about, like, Sleeping Beauty. She was rescued by Prince Philip. She didn't really save herself because she was asleep.
Yeah, all these fairy tales, you see the princess in peril and the man, the prince, come save them. And also, like, little girls grow up to that and they think, oh, my prince is going to save me one day.
Right.
And you said you was going to ask me a question?
That was my, when I was talking about the Wreck-It Ralph 2 trailer, I was going to ask you, how do you feel about that? Because I see that they have, and I'm a feminist, I'm an intersectional feminist, you know, but I see how some men might be offended by that because you have princesses like Sleeping Beauty, Snow White, Ariel from The Little Mermaid, you know, Cinderella, who were saved. Well, if you go on the original Rapunzel story,
I know that one.
But you have princesses who were saved by men.
Yeah.
So, you know, I understand how some men would have been offended and said, well, you know, let's not act like all the princesses saved themselves. You know. So my question then would be, how do you, as a man, do you agree with what they had to say, or do you disagree?
So they're like saying, yeah, it's true. The writers. The writers wrote the fairy tales. They wrote that the woman is supposed to be saved by the man. I understand that, and that's the facts. That's facts is facts. America. Facts are facts. But like I agree to a certain point where, yeah, in most situations it's just the way the story's written.
Right.
You have to look at that. You can't be biased about it. If the facts are there, it's right there. Cinderella. No, that's not talking about Cinderella. Yeah, like you said, Sleeping Beauty was asleep. She got saved by a prince because he kissed her, and boom. Snow White, she was asleep. Prince kissed her, and boom. Like, it's the way the story is written, and you can't really disagree with that because that's how it is. That's how it was.
And I don't think the men are necessarily, like, disagreeing. I think what they're trying to say to Disney's capitalization off of, like, girl power and stuff like that, they're saying, like, hey, Disney, a lot of your princesses were rescued by men who you want to throw shade at and all of that. And there was also something in Incredibles 2. I think there was like a commercial on a TV in the background of a scene that says, so easy, he can do it. And so they were taking a poke at how back in the 50s there were a lot of commercials and advertisements that would say, so something, she can do it. And or like, so easy, she can do it, or easy enough for her to understand, you know, basically saying that women are dumb or stupid
or not strong enough to do certain things.
So it's just interesting how, like, our I guess society has started capitalizing off of, like, feminism and girl power and all of that.
I was also referring to Captain Marvel. Have you seen the trailer?
I have not.
Oh, goodness.
And I want to watch it. Because I've heard good things about it. I've heard bad things about it.
The trailer was alright. It wasn't all that special.
I think some people were definitely geeking because they're like, oh, this is like the first independent, like, female big Marvel movie.
But yeah, women power. And I somewhat feel like it's kind of they're doing it purposely. I feel like it shouldn't be a purpose thing.
Of course.
Like, they are purposely putting a woman front and center for and it's too obvious, like obvious reasons. I don't want it to be obvious. Let it be organic. Just like black characters in movies, they'll have like one or two black characters with a whole array of white characters, and it's like it's too obvious because you have your black characters because you need at least two black people to be diverse. That's obvious, and I feel like it's the same thing with women and the women power in movies. You being obvious, you know. So that's my point.
So, tying it back to how like the topic fits in with the theme.
Yeah, gender roles and
masculinity and femininity.
Yeah.
So I have pulled up the definitions given to me by, looks like Google or maybe the Oxford Dictionary, whichever. So let's look at masculinity first. So here, it's a noun, which is interesting because in my mind it would be more of like an adjective, but it's a noun.
Okay.
Possession of the qualities traditionally associated with men. So they have handsome, muscled, and driven. He's a prime example of masculinity. And some synonyms are virility, manliness, maleness, machismo, like I said, vigor, strength, muscularity, ruggedness, robustness, testosterone. So that's the definition of masculinity. Then femininity, the quality of being female, womanliness. Some synonyms are feminineness, womanly qualities, feminine qualities. They have a lot for masculinity, but then when it comes to femininity, they don't have that much.
But question is, when a woman is shown to have masculine qualities, do other women consider them as not women? Because in the black community, I've personally experienced, if a man has feminine qualities, some stupid straight men would say they're not men. That's not a man. That is a female. So do women do the same thing? That's my question to you.
Well, my initial response is to say no. Because, especially being a lesbian woman, so I'm a woman who is interested in other women. When I see a masculine female, to me, at the end of the day, she's still female. However, I know that there are some people in the lesbian community, especially women who call themselves dykes. I was talking to this girl this one time, and we were talking about me getting my nails done, because I was like, I never know what color to get done, and she's like, well, I'm a nigga, so I can help you. And I gasped. I was like, you're what? I was like, and in my mind, I'm like, you're a female. But there are really some masculine women who believe that they are men, but they don't identify as transgender. They just believe that they have to embody masculinity, and most of the time, toxic masculinity.
And I feel like they kind of let society label them, so that's why they would call themselves man.
Right.
Relationships. Have you been in a situation where the woman, you dated a female, and she's like, I want to be the masculine, or I want to be the femme of the relationship?
I don't date women like that. And what you want to date,
or have you talked to someone who said that they would want to?
No. Okay. When I look at a potential bae or someone who I want to talk to, I don't. And what's funny is that I label myself, but I don't believe in labels. I think that if you call yourself a lesbian and you're a girl who likes girls, that's what it is. I don't believe that a lesbian is someone who fits into this mask femme binary and has to only like femmes if they're masculine or vice versa. I don't believe in that. I don't entertain that. And I can't be with someone who only thinks that, because I myself am sort of fluid in the way I dress. And you've seen how I dress. Sometimes I dress like a dude. Sometimes I dress really feminine. Like right now, I'm pretty effeminate, but I can't date someone who has that mindset. And what's interesting, like, if you look on YouTube and search up the history of butch, they tell you that throughout the time that word was being used, people's opinions on lesbian couples and the concepts of gender roles and masculine and femininity were changing. Because when butch was first used, the lesbian community was encouraging couples to go by the masculine and feminine dynamic.
Yeah. How society would think a relationship should look like.
Then a couple, like a decade later, they were like, you know what? Let's switch it up because we don't want to be like the heteronormativity of the society. We don't want to be like the norm. So they were encouraging butch and butch or femme and femme relationships as sort of a divergence from the norm. Now, what I see in this modern age is some people who, like, even when I'm on Tinder or on Her, they'll be saying stuff like, oh, you'll have like a masculine woman who will say like, oh, femmes only. And I'm like,
that is the same with the gay scene. Like on dating sites, you'll see a guy be like, I'm only into, femmes, or I'm only into bottoms. You don't know what bottom is, we'll get to that one day. I'm only into tops, I'm only into masculine. I'm a masculine, I'm only into masculine. Like, it's the same with gay, in the gay scene as well. Like, how society wants, some people follows the way society want a relationship to look. Gay men, they want, if there'll be a more masculine guy, and he would think, oh, I'm gonna date feminine guy because maybe I'm gonna try to fit, at least, like, we're gay already, so we're not the norm.
Right.
We're already not the norm, but to kind of make people comfortable, I'm gonna go for a more feminine person.
And what do we call that in queer studies? We called it homonormativity, which is like this idea that homosexual people want to follow the norms in a heterosexual society, so they'll have like the masculine and feminine dynamic, and they'll have like the 2.5 kids and all of that, which isn't bad, but that's just the term that we would call something like that.
Just like who you like at the end of the day. You don't have to fit society norms, okay? We're already not a part of society norms, so
right.
Keep going. Keep going. What is your thoughts on gender roles and your personal opinion on that, Zenobia?
My thoughts and personal opinions is that, just like everything else, it's a concept. And if you choose to allow people to dictate you and your gender roles and what you should and should not do based on what you're presenting yourself as or based on what you identify as, that's your choice at the end of the day. But my personal choice, it will not affect me. You telling me what a girl is supposed to do. For example, I always sit with my legs open as such. I was told as a young girl wearing stockings and dresses that a lady is supposed to close her legs. And I'm a lady who doesn't close my legs because that's not comfortable to me. I can't sit and put the leg across. I'll cross my ankles if I feel like it, but my legs are open. So you telling me how I should act based on my gender or sex will not affect me. Like, you can waste your breath if you like. That's your opinion. But it will not be affecting me and what I believe.
Now, with the whole close your legs thing, I can understand to a point where you don't want people, they don't want people to see your underwear and stuff like that. But if it's based on your gender, then that's not right.
Well, luckily for me, I have thick thighs, so no one will be seeing anything because my thigh fat will be covering everything up.
Thick.
Yes.
CK, thick.
Yes.
My overall opinion on gender role is, at the end of the day, I personally believe you do what you want to do. Live your life the way you want to live your life. Don't let anyone tell you how you should live your life. And that's how I'm going to close it. And we will be back after this break.
Okay, everyone, welcome back to ZEN The Podcast. So, for those of you who've been listening in, you know that we've been talking about masculinity, femininity, and gender roles. So, you know, we've come to our closing remarks. So, Sergio, did you have anything you want to say?
Again, if it doesn't matter how you act, if you want to put a label on it, if you want to act masculine, act masculine. If whatever you think that means. If you want to act feminine, act feminine. Do you at the end of the day. And that's what I believe. Do what you want to do and just live life. Life is short, okay? Live life, do what you want to do, and forget everybody that thinks they can control your life and tell you what to do. And that's my last thing. So, yeah.
Okay, well.
And how about you, Zenobia?
Well, as I've said before, and as we've talked about in our queer studies class, you know, gender is a performance. Perform what fits you.
Right.
Don't let people dictate how you have to act and who you have to be and what you have to do. Just be yourself. Do what feels natural or right to you.
Exactly.
And that's what I can offer.
Okay.
So, unfortunately, we're out of time for this episode.
Yeah.
But, you know.
But don't worry. We will be back next week with new things to talk about. So make sure you follow us on Instagram at ZEN The Podcast. And make sure you turn your notifications on. You'll be notified when we release our next episode.
Okay, so thank you so much, you guys, for listening to ZEN The Podcast with me, Zenobia.
And me, Sirg.
Okay, and we hope you have a wonderful week. All right,
okay, bye.